Hello, it's Greg Harrelson here with Century 21, the Harrelson Group in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I'm one of the owners of Century 21 in Myrtle Beach, and then I've got my partner here, Brendan Payne, who's my partner and co-owner of Century 21 Expert Advisors in Charleston, South Carolina. And we just kind of wanted to get together and chat with you today and just share some information that we've been talking about amongst each other in regards to people who are thinking about getting into the business, or maybe they're already in the business and they want to, break out to the next level and, start doing higher production. So we've got a list of questions here. We're just going to run by you and just kind of wrap between each other. Who knows what we're gonna end up coming up with? And I just hope that you get some value out of this information while we talk today. So Brendan, what is like one of the questions that you get when you're talking to newer agents, or maybe agents that are thinking about changing companies and they're wanting to break through to the next level? What are some of the things that you get out there in the market today?
Yeah, I think really right now what I'm hearing from most agents is they're trying to figure out, the market has changed so much in the last 4 or 5 years in both of our areas. So they're trying to figure out, one is how to stay in touch with the market and what's going on, how to serve their clients the best, but then also how to leverage the technology, because that's changing so quickly that the agents have got all these different things coming at them. So they're being distracted a lot. And I think that's really where we're starting to find out when agents are having a challenge, either new coming into the business or they're existing agents that are trying to grow and they're just kind of stuck. It typically comes from their inability to kind of adjust their business plans over the years to how the market's changed. So they're looking for, like, what can you add as an owner, as a coach, what can you add that's going to help get me back to where I need to be?
Yeah, that's interesting, because we've had conversations about this when we talk about challenges that real estate agents are having, and I tell you, there's always been challenges in the industry, but nowadays it seems like corporate America is getting involved. I mean, you've got companies out there like Zillow, $1 billion plus a company that's coming out here, getting into the real estate industry. They're not real estate agents, but what they're doing is they're providing, products to the real estate industry. And it seems like a lot of agents are forgetting that they need to learn the core fundamentals of selling real estate, and they're trying to latch on to these products out there, thinking that if I buy this will be the key to get me to the next level, or maybe I can pay $2,000 a month to this company and they'll generate all these leads for me. So I'm seeing that as being a challenge, as the industry accelerates and speeds up. Other industries are getting involved in flashing these shiny objects in front of agents, and these agents are going for it. Are you kind of seeing the same thing?
Yeah, and I think the conflict comes in where the technology is making the job easier if you know what you're doing. The technology is allowing us to be more efficient, but the challenge is, I think the agents are starting to find it's tougher to show your value now to the clients, because the clients have so much stuff available to them today, so much information that we in the industry used to be the gatekeeper of. They used to have to come to us for all the prices, all the information on the neighborhood, and now since that's available to them through some of the bigger companies that are getting in and monetizing this information, then the agents are kind of lost, like, where do I fit in? What's the value? And so if they haven't already figured out what their own value is, then that's what they're looking for, is, what do I really bring to the table for my clients?
Yeah. And I remember conducting a coaching call with some agents one time, and I don't think I meant to say this, but after I said it, it was one of those things that I said, ooh, that's important. And that is, there's a big difference in giving information and in the interpretation of information. And so with these one of the things that I think is confusing to real estate agents now is the consumer, like a buyer, for instance. A buyer is spending hours and hours on the internet researching inside of particular communities that they like, right? So they already know what the school systems are, or what schools that their kid would go to. They know the ratings of those school systems. They know the crime rates in the community. They know the tax rates. They know the property values. I mean, the consumer is coming to us today often knowing more in the first conversation about a property than the real estate agent knows about that property.
Absolutely.
Now, of course, the real estate agent can get the information real quick, but what we're learning is that agents need to make an adjustment and understand that the internet provides information, but what the agent does nowadays is they actually give an interpretation of that information. They also identify the needs and desires of a client, and then they take that information and they share with them what to do with that information and how they can use that information to actually solve their problem or help them reach their goals.
Yeah.
Depending on if they're thinking about buying or selling.
Yeah,
So
100%. And the clients are telling us that that's what they want. The clients know that they have all the information available to them, but when they're picking up the phone and walking in the office and wanting to talk to a professional, they want the interpretation. What's all this stuff mean? How can you help me from making a mistake? So
Sure.
that's absolutely, that's spot on. So in your experience now, if you're a new agent coming into the market and all these options are out there, what are a few of the key things that you think a new agent needs to really look at and determine with the company that they choose to go to work for? Because that's important now.
Yeah, well, nowadays it seems like from a recruiting standpoint, you see agents or companies, one of the things that they seem to want to talk about all the time is they want to say, oh, I'm going to give you all these leads, right? So it seems like, companies are talking about how many leads they're going to give a real estate agent. And for a newer agent or somebody that's wanting to break through, I can see what the attraction is to that. The challenge is that we're seeing is that the quality of those leads seem to be very low. So though somebody can give you a name, a telephone number, an email, it doesn't mean that contact actually converts to a commission check.
For sure.
So it's something that you can say to somebody that's thinking about getting into the business, and it sounds attractive, but the reality is usually there's very little merit to it. It doesn't turn into income. The other thing that we see is everyone's talking about commission splits. And, here's what's interesting is, and this is kind of, I always thought it was kind of funny when people would say this, but they say, you can have 100% commission split. 100% of nothing is still nothing. So I think what people need to really focus on now when they're thinking about coming into the business or even changing companies is instead of thinking about splits, they need to be thinking about net. Because companies have figured out that the way to convince somebody to come to their office is by saying, I'll give you a bunch of leads and I'll give you a great commission split. But what they don't want to talk about is the quality of the leads and what the net income will be after you take out the number of transactions and the split that you get on the transactions. Yeah. So really what you want to focus on nowadays is you want to focus on companies or a team of individuals that's going to deliver real value. And I personally think real value is knowledge. There's some core fundamentals that you need to learn about selling real estate. You need to learn how to generate business. Without learning how to self-generate, then you're just not going to be able to do any deals.
Yeah.
Second thing is when you have you've generated a lead, you've got to know how to make a presentation.
Yeah, convert.
When if you can't make a presentation, you're not going to convert them. And not all presentations lead to a transaction. So you have to know how to have good follow-up, what to say in their follow-up calls. You've got to learn how to negotiate, whether it's a negotiation for the buyer or against the buyer, because your client could be a seller. These are the things that you really need to be focused on is who's going to teach you how to sell versus who's going to give you an unqualified lead. And, we've been working together for a while. And, it started off, you're working, side by side as agents. We became partners. But I remember when you first I first got to know you. And something I think might be important to share is, and the reason I say this, because you got to 100 deals closed in a year annually. You got to it pretty quickly. So what were some of the things that you did when you were investigating companies? Because you took a little while to choose a company before you got into real estate. I mean, at least 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
What were you looking for, and what did you find when you were talking to and interviewing with companies?
Yep. So I was leaving a career, but that's not an important part of the story because every single person that's getting this business is making a big decision. Everybody that's in the business already and is deciding every day to stay in it is making a really big decision. So I needed to see a couple of things that I was very clear on before I made the jump. And because there was a lot at stake, like everybody has, a lot at stake when they're in this business. So the things that I needed to see were an actual plan of, if I go do A, then B will happen, and then C should be the result. So the first thing that I realized was, like every single industry, this industry, there is a different language. There is a language of real estate that you have to learn before you do your first deal. And the quicker that you can learn that, and the shorter you can make the learning curve to be able to get comfortable in the language of real estate, just like your current job or what you've done in the past, then the sooner you're going to be able to get stabilized and then really start to grow the business. Once you learn the language, then it becomes a matter of putting yourself into position to be able to possibly talk with somebody about doing a deal, a buyer or a seller. So that is consistent with what you said, where everybody is talking about the leads that you can get, but the one thing we know is that everybody in each market is working the same leads. There's nobody that has an exclusive on these people. They're talking with multiple people. So leads aren't really the missing part. The missing part on whether or not you're going to convert is, do you have the skills? Have you learned the language? So once you learn the language, then you put yourself into position to be successful by actually talking to people, generating your own business, like you said. Then in order to grow that, or how quickly you grow that, depends on what systems that you can put in place to be able to do more with the same amount of time. So, the very first step was being able to understand that I'm going to have to get somewhere that they're going to show me, or I can learn the skills to be able to go and have a good conversation with somebody, add value, and be able to convert those leads. Then go out and actually do the job. So get in action. And then the growth from there was being in an environment to where once I did 25 deals, instead of getting stuck at 25 and spending the next 5 years figuring out and trudging through, how do I get to 30 or 35? How do you make big jumps and be able to scale your business very quickly? And then after that, it's just doing the same thing over and over again, as we know.
Just repetition.
Yeah.
It's interesting, as I'm talking to agents, and when I was coaching for Mike Ferry in the past, I'd get new clients, and I'd be coaching them, agents all across the country. And a lot of times they would ask me, Greg, I'm just kind of curious, what are the characteristics of a successful real estate agent? And a lot of times they would say a top agent. Agents that come into this business and they just take off really quick, and they have immediate success. And here's what I told them. I said, there's three things that make a great agent, and they're going to be different than what most people think. Number one is a desire. An agent that has a desire to succeed is probably going to succeed. It's one of those that they have a desire to win. If they play basketball, they're playing to win. If they're playing chess, they're playing to win. Now, we're not talking about somebody that when they lose, they're going to cry about it. We're not talking about that, but we're just saying that when somebody goes into something and does something, they give it 100% because they actually have that strong desire to succeed. That's a characteristic that I see that's very common. The second one is structure. A lot of people, they get into real estate and they think, gosh, I want freedom. I want to be able to make my own schedule, work when I want to. And that's fine. I mean, one of the benefits of being in real estate is you get to work when you want to, and you get to have freedom. But the challenge is that too many people take advantage of it. So it's okay to have freedom and work a normal business schedule, but you can't take advantage of it. So you've got to have some structure and know that when you come into the office in the morning, you do certain things that lead to certain results. So if you've got a desire, and you'll actually instill some structure to your day and not just kind of, shoot from the hip, you'll do well. And then the third one is you got to be coachable. And I think, you said it, you were looking for a company that could show you the way and connect the dots and actually how to plan and says, if you do this, then you'll get this. But at the end of the day, somebody could lay a plan out in front of you. If you're not executing the plan, then you're still not going to do anything. So you have to be coachable. So desire, a willingness to follow some sort of structure and some order to your day, and the willingness to be coachable. I think that's what it takes these days.
Yeah, and the thing that I really, I went through at least a dozen different interviews of different companies and different models, and one of the things, and this was in a different time of the market for sure, it was, there was some obvious factors that the market was changing, and we were just about to go into one of the worst, downturns in the history of our business. And so in those conversations, one of the things that I was given was a lot of plans that were on paper and a lot of systems on the computer, and saying, well, we've got a great training program, here it is. The only thing that I really cared about was I wanted to be able to see someone that was actually doing what the company claimed they had as a training program, and then see the results. Because I was pretty simple. I mean, I felt like I had the confidence that I could do the job, and if you could show me somebody that's not like doing unbelievable things that I'm incapable of, then I think I can probably model that. And I think that's important, because a lot of the coaching and training that's out there right now is based on theory. So it's a book, it's a manual, it's a program, and if you do this, you're going to really get some good results. But it's important that you say, or look for, who's somebody that's actually done this. Have they implemented this? Don't show me the guy that's been in business for 10 or 15 years doing 150 transactions, but he spent the first 5 or 6 years struggling. Because I think most people that are coming into the business right now, they don't want to struggle for the first 3 years. You have to pay your dues? Absolutely. Do you have to put the time in and work hard? Absolutely. But with the right plan and the desire and being coachable, you can get going pretty quickly. A lot of our agents, their first couple of years, are doing just that.
Yeah. A lot of people nowadays that are thinking about getting into the business or breaking through, one of the things that's very popular, and I think everyone's at least heard of the conversations about teams. A lot of people are saying, hey, I want to come into the business and I want to work with a top producer. And both of us have had a lot of success. Maybe we didn't come in under a team member, but both of us have actually had team members that have went on to do 100 plus transactions. And I think that's something we should touch on, because there are people out there, and that's one thing that we invite. If somebody's out there and they are not comfortable at just starting their own business all alone, then heck, we can actually invite them in and help them, get a position on a team with a top producer. So what do you think are some of the advantages of somebody getting in and kind of for a couple years working under top producers, and why are they all of a sudden breaking through and getting to hundreds of deals, so quick? What is it about the teams that seem to be working these days?
Well, I would say there's 3 things in terms of the benefits that they get. One, obviously they get typically some one-on-one coaching from that mentor, right? So you don't have to go into an appointment maybe on your own, your very first few appointments, feeling like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm sitting here. You're going to have the support of somebody that's already been there, done that. You're going to convert a lot quicker. Yeah. The second is they are going to have systems that are in place that are going to allow you to just go do what you need to do, which is income generating activities. Go convert the leads. You don't have to worry about figuring out your CRM. You don't have to worry about figuring out, how do you establish your follow-up systems? How do you establish a marketing program? All of that stuff can be pretty daunting, and it's going to slow your production as an individual agent somewhat. So if that's important. And then the third is really just an appetite for your risk, or where are you going into the business in terms of your expectations. Getting into this business, unless it's just kind of a just a part-time thing, if you're getting in full-time, you already have established that you're willing to take a risk in exchange for some really, really good opportunity. If you want to minimize that risk a little bit, then you've got the ability to come in underneath a team or a top producer be able to get established, learn the things, and if you have conversations up front, then there's a lot of opportunities to then eventually go off on your own if the business is set up correctly, and that's a win-win situation for everybody. So those things they become important.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that about going on appointments with somebody, because right before I cut this video, or we sat down to cut this video, I actually just attended an appointment with a newer agent, in the business at our company, who actually was prospecting and found a potential seller lead at $1.5 million. Is their price, and it scared him to death to think that he was going to go into one of his first presentations with a $1.5 million house.
Sure.
So obviously I went with him. We went together, presented ourselves as we worked together as partners, and the conversation went great. And I can on the way back from the appointment, the conversation he and I had about here's why I did this and here's what I'm going to do next, and just walking him through kind of like why I did certain things. I know he gained so much knowledge, and it probably in that 1 hour conversation, he probably got more than he got in the last 90 days. So sure. I think that's a really good point. So, just for the sake of making sure that this video doesn't go too long, the last question that I think that we should answer, and I'm not even sure what I'm going to say, so I'll ask you first.
Right.
Is what's one last tip for somebody that's thinking about making a change, whether it's thinking about making a change from a different career to real estate, or again thinking about making a change from one company to another, or maybe they're doing 20 deals and want to do 50 deals. What would be one last tip or word of wisdom that you could share with them?
I think the main thing is just to understand that this is as systematic and structured as your typical day-to-day job. There is a lot of mystery, I think, for most people in this business. I know when I came in, I had no clue of what was involved in order to actually do the business. But I knew one thing. I had to be able to see a plan, see somebody that's gotten the results from the plan, and then choose for myself or decide for myself, am I willing to do those things, and which you mentioned, and then at that point it's just a matter of getting to work. But being able to take the mystery out of it and understand that you don't have to be 10, 15 years in the business grinding away to have an incredible income and have an incredible lifestyle. It's possible, but it requires the right systems.
Yeah, that's good. And so I guess what I would say is to anyone that's considering making a move, again, whether it's from company to company or changing careers, real estate is as you know, it's an unbelievable opportunity. It's got so much upside, but it also has a little bit of downside. But where else can you start a new career, start a business? Because every real estate agent is their own business. It's Me Incorporated, right? And so where else can you go and start a business with very little to no investment? If you want to, I was talking to some people that own restaurants and how much money they were making, and they're making a couple $100,000, and I asked them, how much did you have to invest? And they had to invest $1 million in order to build out the restaurant and learn the things that they needed to learn in order to make $200,000 to $300,000 a year. In real estate, you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can make as little as you want. You can make as much as you want. But one thing that you don't have to do is you don't have to invest $1 million to get in the business. Yeah. But what you do have to do is you have to invest your time. Yeah. So if you're coming into the business, then make sure that you understand that you may not have to invest a lot of money, but you will have to invest some time. If you're thinking about, I can come into this business with no money and invest no time, then it could lead to failure. Yeah. And I don't see a lot of people that actually come into business like that, though there are some. But I also don't see a lot of people that understand that if they invest more time on the front end, that they can get jump started and get up and running and generate momentum extremely fast. We have new agents coming into this business that, I know one is actually a friend of mine, just started, changed careers, and today's his 46th day in the business, somewhere around that, about 46, 47 days in the business. He's already taken 10 listings and made 2 sales.
Yeah, it's
Listen,
incredible.
he is making it happen. But what is he doing? He's investing his time in learning and understanding the business. He's shadowing other agents, and he's just making things happen. So, I would just say for those that are thinking about getting into the business, make sure you invest some time and take this on. Any last words?
No, just please make sure and check out our YouTube channels for additional content and other topics that we talk about, and subscribe. And hopefully we brought some value to you in this quick video. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. And again, I'm Greg Harrelson down in Myrtle Beach, Century 21, the Harrelson Group, and my partner, Brendan Payne, Century 21 Expert Advisors in Charleston. And look, one of our passions is actually developing talent. So if you're interested in maybe a career in real estate, or if you're just interested in breaking through to the next level, it wouldn't hurt for us to at least have a conversation. We can kind of discuss with you what we do, look at what you do, and have a conversation on how you can get to the next level. That's our passion. We love to do it, and we have a track record for creating top producers in both markets. We'll talk to you soon.